Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 11 of What If Naruto was the same age as Itachi. Remember to get this one to 300 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Had a New Dream. That will change everything. And I enjoyed that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new, I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, as Uncle was upset about Naruto not taking the job, yes. Indeed, she wanted to become the Hokage. Despite knowing how strong he was, she was scared for his safety. Because she knew that once his Genins turn Chunins, he will start to go on those dangerous missions once again. But Naruto explained to her, the Hokage is not the safest person. As the countless of situations and the wars that Naruto be fought in. After a while, she got to understand what he was talking about. But he told her that once this is all over, he would spend as much as time with her as possible, and he would think about the position. As she nodded, as he shared a kiss before he headed off, they made their way to Take, as Naruto ran into Fu there, as he sent his Genins off to take the first exam. As his team got through rather quickly, as Naruto spoke to Fu the entire time, as she was smiling and talking to him. She had a rather strange philosophy. Seems like she didn't really care much about a lot of things. But Naruto was there to talk to her the entire time though, until he headed off, as Asuna and Kurenai was there, as they watched their team participate. As Naruto's team was the first one to get through, as he left with a laugh. As it was now the final day, as Naruto was making his way but he was stopped by Fu who started to talk to him. She made a bold move, as she kissed him. Naruto was surprised by that, as he had to turn her down, as she showed that she really liked him. But he told her it was not because of her or anything, but he has a girlfriend. As she quickly understood, why wouldn't someone as nice and caring as him have a girlfriend? As he spoke with her as gentle as possible, as she didn't had any bad feelings towards it. As she headed off as Naruto made his way, he was stopped though, as he had to go and see to the Hokage. As there, he spoke to Mei Terumi, who was the leader of Kira right now, as she seemed pretty confident in her team down there, because Haku was on the team. As the other matches started, as it was a team match thing, as Naruto watched his team took out quickly the Taki Shinobis, as Kurenai's team took out another team from Taki as well. And then his team faced off against Team 8, as they worked in perfect unity, as they were able to take them down. As Naruto was surprised, he wondered what Naruto has been teaching his team, as Naruto simply smiled as he was so proud of them. Once that was all said and done, Team 10 faced off against Haku and his team, but they lost. Yes, Haku and his team was well advanced. Despite Team 10 being a strategy team with Shikamaru with smart thinking, they still lost. As everything was going wonderful, but then something terrible happened. It's something really terrible. A sword found its way through Sarutobi's chest as he looked down. So yeah guys, that was basically the last we left off. You guys can switch across to the place and check it out for yourself. So, what do you say we begin this new episode? The various conversation that was going on in the theater slowly tapered off as they noticed that something was wrong. But it was over in a second, as Naruto had saw the person move off with the white mask. But Naruto twisted his body and shoot after the man. He knew that the Hokage was okay, of course, as he saw the cloud of a substitution. But that was not the reason why he was so angry, as the person was trying to get away. And not to mention he was a Konoha Shinobi, and he almost allowed an assassination attempt to get to his Hokage. No danger should have come close enough to the Hokage to acquire him to take action himself. So in that he took off after the assassin. He couldn't understand it, that the shinobi got past their sensors, or the Kage's bodyguards. Either they were equipped with a master of stealth, or they had some kind of cloak or something. All of that was analyzed and filed away in Naruto's mind in a few seconds, as he was using that to try to analyze the assassin, trying to understand how they did what they did. They were shorter than him, but their feet, it never actually touched the ground. Whatever they were doing, it was a practiced skill because they were doing it perfectly. No wasted chocolate gave them away. He could see it as they bounced off the storefront. Their shadow never quite touched the soles of their sandals. Whatever it was seemed to be giving them a great boost in speed. They weren't faster than Naruto, but as the person twisted their body and flew through a window, they didn't have to be. Obviously, this person knew Taki layout like the back of their hand, as Naruto shot towards the rooftop. In that brief moment though, when both of them were in the air, Naruto saw something, a bulge, on the person's chest. A woman then? She was an agile thing, he would certainly give her that. It took him a few seconds to locate her, but she came out of another window down the street, as he shot after her once again. He could swear it was like she was flying, gliding off objects with so little effort. A wing technique then, he could recognize the signs. Under different circumstances, Naruto would have liked to talk to this person, as he seemed to be a master with the element, and it being his element he would have liked to discuss some things. But this was not the case, as she turned down the street and vanished. She was doing that as he forced Naruto to use the High just sped all about, searching for her. The person seemed to know the layout of Taki rather easily, as he launched a kunai ahead of her, trying to cut her off, but she bounced off the wall without any sound. She didn't even touch it. She just pushed herself off, without even touching the wall exactly. But the kunai nicked her right on the leg. Naruto tried to flash the weapon, but she kicked the kunai straight down the street. By the time he made his way after her, she already vanished into a nearby building. This time, she did not re-emerge, as he scoured the place. The only thing left was to rip all the buildings down, which he thought about. But he could admit that he lost her. Returning to the arena, as he felt humiliated that someone had bested him by escaping, as he only made a quick bow to the other Kages, as he made his way towards Hirzun, as Radio was apologizing to him. For the last time, Radio-kun, I'm fine. If every youngster with that sword would have been able to gotten to me, I wouldn't have made this far. But Hokage-sama, the man said. But Sarutobi saw Naruto as he turned towards him. Ah, Naruto, that was a rather speedy reaction, my lad. I expect nothing less. Did you manage to catch a perpetrator? For a man who had just been targeted, he didn't seem all that shaken up about it. If anything, he seemed more irritated by Radio apologizing than nearly dying. However, the simple words made Naruto feel even worse. Ah, Hokage-sama, Naruto sighed, as Sarutobi stopped him. Not you too, Naruto. I already told Radio that he wasn't my first assassination attempt, and it won't be my last. It is something that comes with our life of work. As he lit his pipe and took a few drags for blowing the smoke out. Now, any more than a hit man? Naruto sighed. A few things. Firstly, it was a hit woman. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow as he smirked. Oh, it's been a while since I sent a kunoichi after me. Seems I still have it after all. As Naruto's eyebrow twitched at the way he was just so calm. Secondly, said Naruto, I believe she managed to sneak up on us by using a rather strange wing technique that allowed her to step off the air. It made her footsteps silent, and allowed her to cover large distances with minimum foot movement. As they knew what that meant, it didn't mean that she sneaked up on them. She just appeared too quickly for any of them to react in time. If Naruto had to think about what it compared to, it would be him flashing the Harashin with no warning. A dangerous technique then. We should be wary for a repeat performance. Naruto pulled out his kunai with some blood on it. Maybe not in the immediate future. I was able to catch her in the leg before she vanished in the building. However, said Naruto, based on the assassination and the knowledge of Taki layout, I can only assume. Hirzun raised his hand, stopping Naruto from saying anything else. Did you find anything else beyond the assassin gender, Naruto? Naruto shook his head, as a person that covered everything else. Did they display a specific jutsu to a village or a clan? Again, another no. Then, my boy, we best not be going around the accusation just based on a few evidence. Hirzun smiled widened as he gave Naruto a small wink. Wars have been started for less, you know? Naruto frowned at the man's casualness, but before he could say anything else, Shimaru walked over. As the two of them started to converse, the sight made Naruto scowl, because he was sure that the person was from Taki. No one could know the layout of the village if they did not live there for months or years like that, because the way the girl was moving, she knew every nick and turn. Not only that, if they were from another village, They would have to find a way to sneak into the village defense and pass every security guard. And yet the Hokage was casually talking to the man who might have ordered his execution like they were drinking buddies. Was this how politics work? The entire thing got swept under the rug as the exams continued. But Naruto couldn't find himself to enjoy the fights anymore. Up in his stance, there was no banter or amusing situations anymore. They were just silence as they watched the proceedings go on. Predictability. The Taki team quickly lost out to Haku's team. But it was in the final fight that Naruto found himself, well, disappointed in himself, as he was unable to pay attention good, as it was rather a drawn out fight though. His team had did their best, but in the end a close victory for Kiri had been scraped out. Mei was not lying when she said she chose the best of the best. All of her team members were solidly chosen already by skills, not rank yet, as Naruto commended his team for lasting so long, as the teamwork between Haku and Kojiro was simply unmatched, and they were protecting the Genjutsu user of the team, and Ami didn't want to personally seek out Haku, instead going after Kojiro. That was a bad matchup, because Kojiro was far more advanced than her with blades. There was no contest. There was a reason that Kiri was so famous with a particular squad of ninjas with their blades. When Ami fell, the rest of Team 7 was not far too behind. They took out the support member that was casting Genjutsu, but had joined assault from Haku and Kojiro, took out Sakura and Sasuke. Despite the loss, he felt pride for each member of his team. While they did not win, they showed the pride and skills and thinking of a Chunin. There was also the helpful fact that he won the wager between the two Jonin senseis, as he told them how proud he was when their match was over. They were a little beat up, as he could see the glint of determination in Sasuke's eyes, the same look that Shisui used to had. It was really made known that Sasuke really wanted the shinobis out of their village though, because not half an hour later, they were ushered towards the exit. Team 7 was the last let out though, as they were visited by Fu. Hey Naruto, she says. He landed right on Naruto's back, with a smile on her face. The Genins looked at them, before shaking their head. Their sensei seemed to have a rather remarkable way to attract strange people. Hi Fu, said Naruto, as she flipped off his back and landed, as she came around. You guys leaving already, she said, a bit disappointed, and a bit understanding. Obviously, her time alone thinking had done her some good, as Naruto was definitely glad for that. Yeah, but you know that already, said Naruto, with a smirk, as she looked down. So why are you here, Naruto asked. There was no spite or anger in his tone, just friendly banter. Saw right through me, huh, she said as she stepped back, as she winced a bit, the leg that she put too much pressure on, hurting. As Naruto looked down, only raised the eyebrow and the bandage on her thigh. What happened to your leg, Fu? As his tone became rather neutral, his eyes narrowed. Fu, eyes widened just the slightest, before she got an embarrassing look. Well, after our talk, I needed some time to think, so I went to a training ground and blew off some steam. I guess I wasn't in the right state of mind. I got careless, and I destroyed a whole tree. One of the splinters nicked me, you know? As she smiled brightly, but it looked like it was forced. Naruto only smiled back as he glanced towards the wound. The wound that was in the same position of the assassin. The assassin who should be a Kage Shinobi. The same assassin who would need to have a skill in wing manipulation. But Fu then launched forward towards him, as his muscle tensed, but she hugged him, as she buried her face into his chest. Thank you, Naruto. Even though you couldn't be what I want you to be, thank you. As she separated, never noticed Naruto slide a kunai right back into his pouch. As she smiled at him. Us Jinchuriki have to stick together, right? As the Hokage words ran through Naruto's head, as he gave her a smile. Right, he said. As he was escorted out of the village, but he felt a knot in his stomach. Time skip, as Naruto stepped through the gates of Konoha with a bright smile on his face. Even his Genins were happy. For them it felt like a great deal longer that they have left. He turned to address his Genins, but a blur smashed into him. Naruto! Uncle yelled as the two of them rolled on the street, as she flipped him so she was on top. As the three Genins sighed once again at their teacher and his girlfriend antics. Uncle, I thought you said you would be on a mission by the time we got back. Naruto groaned from the floor. She poked her chest. Finish early, because you already know, I'm awesome. As she then leaned down. You've been gone for 3 days. You know what that means, right? A sudden coughing broke her from a seductive tone. I think we all know what that means, Uncle-chan, said Hiruzen, as Uncle went red in the face. Hokage-sama. As she looked at the position that she had put her and Naruto in. As she quickly jumped up. I hope you had a pleasant trip, she said. Hiruzen chuckled as he puffed on his pipe. Oh, I'm sure Naruto will be happy to regale you of the Details later. Now, if you will all excuse me, I made a promise to Konohamaru about souvenirs. And with that he headed off, flanked by his envoys in shadow. As Naruto picked himself up. On a similar note, I'll see you all at training tomorrow, usual place. He was about to dismiss them, but they had confused look on their faces. But, Sensei, Ami said, the Chunin exam selection take a bit of time. The Hokage doesn't have final say after all. His choices had to be put through a peer review. This take about a week or so. So until then, I'm afraid you're stuck with little old me. As Naruto vanished and appeared in front of her. You wouldn't be getting tired of your little old sensei, now would you? Ami-chan, he asked. As Sasuke muttered something that made Naruto chuckle. Just because you might become Chunin, no. Even if you become Chunins, I'll still be your sensei. As he moved over quickly, you know that right, Seisu-chan, he said. As he, rough Sasuke is here. Sasuke gave my evil look. I'll make you stop calling me that. As his Sharingan flashed for a moment. Naruto simply chuckled. You're welcome to try, Seisu-chan, you're welcome to try. As the Genin turned to leave, but Sasuke stopped and turned a smirk. You better count on it, Tomito-sensei. As Sasuke and the others rushed off. Ungrateful brat, said Naruto with a tick mark. Ah, Naruto, said Kunai. As Anko looked over. Ah, Nai-chan, said Anko as he dashed forward and crashed Kunai to the ground the same way as Naruto. As they rolled to a stop near Asuma's feet, as the both of them looked up at the red-faced Jonin. As he merely smirked, don't mind me, please, carry on, he said. As Kunai realized that the roll around caused her dress to slip slightly from her shoulder, she immediately got to her feet, bright red. As Anko got up, her hair, now missed than usual, and she didn't even try to fix it. Asuma then spoke up in her place, seeing that Kunai wasn't about to say anything. I think Kunai was about to tell you, we're going to have to get some Dango, talk for a bit, Naruto. You know, discuss the exam, talk a bit about our teams. Unless the Hokage-to-be can no longer mingle with us, common rabble. As Naruto smirked a bit, not common rabble though, just people who couldn't get their team to pass. The first tournament, he said. As he remembered Team 10 defeat, drawn out defeat from the Kira team, as Asuma nearly choked on his cigarette, quite ironically, since it wasn't even lit. Oh, he said, as Naruto patted him on the shoulder. So Dango, huh? Sounds good. Uncle, you coming? Yeah, sure, she said, with a big smile on her face. Sounds good, said a voice, as Genma suddenly dropped down from the roof, with his senbon in his mouth. As all of them were looking at him. What, he said. I was just passing by and I heard. What, I like Dango too. As they all started to chuckle. Well, if that's the case, we might as well invite everyone, said Naruto. As Naruto saw a look on Genma's face. Well, you know that might not be possible, with you, Jiu and all, said Genma. As everyone looked at him confused. Just as puzzled what? Wait, you guys don't know? Said Genma. Don't know what? Time skip. Training Ground Tree was rather quiet. As UJ was sitting down, legs crossed, looking at the stone in front of her, hoping that it will just talk. Apart from I know, the ninja part, that she should be training right now, better in her skills. As Hayate probably angry at her, just here, wasting time and not doing anything, looking at a piece of stone. You know, there's a little girl that just came from Take, excited, hoping to see her big sister. She didn't flinch when she heard his voice. They had been his squad mates for years. They were aware of his sudden flash in and flash out. What do you want her to take? She said. Ami did amazingly in the exams, you know. You'd have been proud of her. As Naruto sat down next to her, as he had two swords in his lap. You know, I feel like I already had this conversation with you. What happened? She grunted, forcing herself not to look at the two familiar blades that was resting in his lap. Did you break into my apartment, Tiku? She didn't sound so annoyed with the act, but more the fact that he was successful. It was pride for Shinobi that their homes were protected and safe, even when they were not there. Please, Yuji, you lived with Uncle for a number of years, and most security measures become childish. Don't change the subject, said Naruto. She muttered something. Come again? As she looked towards him, revealing her bloodshot eyes. I went on a mission, she said. Naruto raised an eyebrow. That's good, he said. But she turned towards him furiously. As he saw the full extent of the damage, she looked paler, and her eyes were so red. I nearly got a teammate killed, Teiko. Tell me what happened. After a long moment of hesitation, she did. She told him that she mustered up the courage to go on a mission with their squad. She made sure that it was routine, mission, rookie stuff to get her back in the swing of things. Of all the luck though, they run across that team from a different village. That didn't really matter. But their goal was the opposite of theirs, and conflict break out. She was doing fine. The other team was not that all-powerful, and there were no known veterans in their rank. But there was one with the sword instinct kicking in. She moved forward to challenge him, but she saw one of them going after her mates. At the last moment though, she did not see the faceless envoy or anything. She saw Hayate in front of her, and she hesitated. And like any mistake on battlefield, someone had paid for it. Lucky, the rest of the team was able to mop out the others, but not before. The very same person who she was trying to protect got a nasty wound to the chest. He's recovering in the hospital right now. The medic team said he should be fine in recuperation, but what if he hadn't? Between telling her the story, she had broken down and tears were now streaming down her face. What if because of my damn hesitation someone had died? What if it happens again, Teiko, she asked. There was silence, and she could not see Naruto's face because she was looking down. But instead of an answer, she felt something being pressed in her hand. As she saw, it was the hilt of a blade. Her blade. As her instinct suddenly kicked in, as she rolled back quickly. Where her head had been, a blade passed through ear. Teiko, she called out, but she had to block another strike with her blade. As she looked at the blade in surprise, she blocked it. Well, the reflexes are still there, said Naruto. As he was behind her, causing her to spin. He was right there in the reverse stance that she herself had taught to him. But she had difficulty seeing him, as he had Hayate's blade in his hand. Suddenly, she saw Naruto again, through the slight red tint that came over her vision. How dare you! As she dashed forward and struck violently. Naruto was hardly a Kinjutsu master, but he was currently a lot faster than her. But in her rage, she proved rather quick, as she earned a few nicks on him. By the time they had worn each other out, the entire place was covered in scratches and gouges. And were they? She was panting heavily, but Naruto wasn't that exhausted, although he had a few scratches on him. As he smirked and spin the blade in his hand and drive it right into the ground. Good, remember that. And like that, he was gone. She blinked, but he did not return once again. As she was alone, sweaty and tired. But she felt lighter. She walked over and placed her hand on Hayate's blade, stopping the humming of the blade. It was still warm, and before she knew it, a small smile came on her face. Memory of training sessions, long talk as they spar with their blades. She couldn't think where they had gone before now. As she looked up to realize it was dark, she needed to get home. She needed to congratulate her sister as she pulled the blade from the ground. As she smiled, seeing dirt on the blade, Hayate would have been glad that his sword hadn't gone to waste. As she made her way home, time skipped as Naruto was leaning up against the gate. As he just looked up in the sky, watching the clouds pass by, he remembered Ensui Sensei doing this a lot. And it would took Shisui, Naruto and Itachi some while to get him to move. They tried many things, attacking him, but they were just weak Genins back then. Shisui annoying him, but that didn't work. Itachi even once tried to place a man under Genjutsu, but he spent the next 10 minutes hanging upside down in a tree by the man's shadow. He might have stayed there longer, but Ensui Sensei got bored of maintaining the technique. He wasn't sure why he felt this way. Even Uncle said that he was a bit distracted. Perhaps it was because he felt like he was about to lose his pressure to the students. He was almost sure that they were showing for students, as decisions would be made at the end of the week. Sounds of footsteps snapping from his thoughts as he pulled himself up. It was like he wouldn't ever see them again. He just grew rather attached to the kids. Morning, Sensei, said Ami. Morning, Ami-chan, said Naruto. That's a rather large sword. As there was a rather large ninjado behind her, formed that extra other, more sizable, appropriate sword. Oh, yeah, she said, looking down. Nisan was acting pretty strange yesterday, and right before I left this morning, she gave me her blade. It's weird because she knew I can't use it yet. She said she had a new sword, one that needed her attention more. As Ami shrugged as she was uncertain, confused. It looked kind of old and beaten up though. You know, I don't get her sometimes. Naruto chuckled a bit. There is truth in those words. As he ruffled her hair, much to her irritation. At least it stopped her from thinking too much though. Sometimes you need to just stop understanding the people you care about and just accept their decisions, no matter how weird it might seem. One day, you will understand them, trust me. As Ami smiled after a while. As he looked towards her blade, we're going to have to seal that up though. It's only going to weigh you down and mess with your balance if you carry it like that. Don't worry, he said, you can keep the scroll with you. It's just best not to try and get used to a new weight before starting a mission. Looking into your sister, I'm sure that you'll grow into it one day. Much like you grow out of the sword that you have now. By then, you might have someone of your own to pass down to, he said. As she nodded, as he showed her how to seal it away. Now then, as she strapped it in one of her pouches, Sasuke and Sakura then arrived. Right then, he said with a smile. I commence what may be the very last mission of Team Naruto, as he pointed off into the distance with a dramatic look. You know, You don't have to put it like that, Sensei, Sakura said, rolling her eyes. As Naruto pouted as he crossed his arms. You will all miss me when you separate, you'll see. Said Sasuke and Sakura as he walked past him and walked through the gates. As Naruto lowered his head until he felt something tug on his shirt. I'll miss you, Sensei, said Ami, with a small blush on her cheek. And that is why you'll always be my favorite, Ami-chan, he said loudly, as he ruffled her hair, as her eyes started to twitch. I won't miss that though, she said. Moments later, it was a rather dull mission for their so-called final mission, and Sasuke complained about it the entire way. Why would they have to take such a simple mission if they were going to be tuning anyway? As Naruto argued back, it was still C rank, and if they were tuning, they would still be taking missions like these. At least Sasuke sat down for a while. In reality, it was just C rank name though. It was as simply deliver a mission to the town at the border of Pine no Kuni. The rank was only because it was so close to the hidden zone, and the two villages weren't on friendly terms at all. However, Naruto chose the bland mission on purpose. No excitement, no action, no fighting, no danger. He didn't want his team to remember their time like that. He wanted them to remember as a team. And that was how they acted, poke and joke fun at one another, and enjoy their time. As nothing was said with venom and everything was good nature, pure happiness, a real team bonding. The mission might have been completed in this matter as well, but problems were always attracted to Naruto in some way. And you should have seen how shocked the Hokage was. His pipe nearly fell out of his mouth, Naruto said, as he finished retelling one of his stories from his youth. One of the pranks that Shisui had taught him and Itachi in pulling. As his Genins laughed along with him, Sasuke, fighting on a smile as Ami, was wiping tears from her eyes. As Naruto smiled towards Sasuke, he remembered, whenever he brought up stories about the past, seeing that Itachi was in them, it made Sasuke scowl and brought up a dark mood. But now, the boy had changed a lot. It seemed to lighten him a bit, knowing that Itachi was once a normal kid like him, not some scheming murderer. But it made Sasuke confused, just like Naruto, as he questioned what they knew about him. As Naruto could only hope that, like him, the numbers just wouldn't add up. In his momentary, thought and having fun with his team, he almost didn't notice a trap. But at the last second he snapped out of it, as Sakura had tripped over a wire by accident, as she was laughing with Ami and the others, not even paying attention, as a kunai was thrust towards them. Naruto did not blame her as the trap was hidden in the undergrowth. His eyes barely caught flash of it when it had fired. His Genins moved quickly into position, expertly covering one another blind spot, as that grin came across Naruto's face, happy towards him before it vanished, as it was replaced with a serious, more ready Naruto as his eyes scanned over the place. Before his team could even ask what was happening, he threw a kunai in the air and vanished. All around they heard thud, 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 as kunai was being buried into wood. As they watched in awe as red flashes flashed around them with incredible speed. When the dust settled in seconds, four shinobi were bound deeply in their path. Behind them, Naruto stood that scowl. These people just crashed what was supposed to be his team wonderful last mission together. That was unacceptable. You didn't have to do everything, Sensei. We could have handled it, Sasuke said. No need to take risks though. I wouldn't want anything ruin our last mission together. Right, Sasuke-kun? He said, as his cold mask simply washed away. Anyway, what's the point of having these abilities if I don't use them to protect the people precious to me? Like you guys. At that, both Sakura and Ami cheeks flushed a bit. At that moment, Sasuke, danger senses flare as he ducked, as a thin blade passed over his head, slicing off few strands of his hair. As he slashed out with a sweeping kick, the person jumped up, but Sakura spun and smashed the person in the side with a kick. The attacker, a grim-looking chun in grey hair, crumbled but got to their feet back quickly. Sasuke speed forward in furious of attacks and knocked the man down by sweeping away his legs as he tried to move. A sword was pressed right against his throat as he looked up at Ami, as she spun the blade and knocked him out. She then turned towards Naruto. What gives, Sensei? You missed one, she shouted. Naruto simply just grinned. Sometimes the best way to protect someone is to make sure they can protect themselves. It may be our last mission, but I'm not going soft on you guys. Ami opened her mouth, but she closed it again. Everything is training, remember? It was the first thing I taught you, said Naruto. So what was the rest of the day? Asked Sasuke. The attacking ninjas always operate in group of 5, he said, as he turned back towards the Chunins. Taki? Said Sakura, surprised. But why would they attack us? Konoha and Taki are allies, aren't they? As Naruto grinned, that's a good question, Sakura, he said, as he looked towards the bound members of the crew. His eyes flashed crimson for a second, making them shiver. Maybe our guests will be so kind to answer us, he said. They got over their momentary fright though, as all of them looked determined. We're not telling you anything, you major village trash. the Chunin said with so much disgust in his tone. But Naruto simply grinned and stepped forward, as the Chunin started to get rather nervous when the grin didn't leave Naruto's face at all. "Oh, I'm sure that you won't tell us much." Ibiki, on the other hand, well, he's all too persuasive, I'm afraid. Despite their best attempt to hide their fear, one of the Chunins gulped at that. Ibiki Marino had a certain reputation across the Elemental Nation, and their allies in Take know this well. As if we get that far. As he reached around in his mouth. "Oh, so you're a team leader then?" The man blinked several times to see Naruto had a pill in his hand. "How did you—" Naruto grabbed him and started to drag him. "If anyone wants a crash course in the field of interrogation, follow me," as he vanished into the brush. The three Genis looked at one another, before Sasuke went after him, a gleam in his eye. A few seconds later, Ami started to walk off as well, before she stopped and looked at Sakura. "Well, I did say I want to learn everything that Naruto-sensei has to teach," as she rushed off, leaving Sakura to paw at her shirt. As she heard that scream a few moments later. "Yeah, I'll stay here and guard the prisoners," she said. Someone had to do that after all. Time skip. When the team returned back home, something was wrong. Shinobis were buzzing around, and civilians were not on the street. As this sight, it has not been seen by Genis before, but Naruto knew it. After reading his parents' journals and seeing many things before, a hidden village at war. For once, even Aizumo and Hitetsu seemed busy as they were examining reports, as he could only spare a brief moment with Naruto as they report their mission as a success and fill paperwork. A moment later, an escort arrived and vanished with their prisoners. "Sensei, what's going on?" asked Ami, as she finally caught her breath, as he had made his way back as fast as possible, and Naruto-sensei didn't even look like he burst a sweat. They finally got the Chunin that admitted that Take, along with the grass and the stone, has declared war on Konoha. "I cannot say yet," he said, "but I'm gonna find out. You guys should go home while you can. I imagine it's gonna get very busy very soon." And with that, he flashed away in a red of blur. Time skip. "Thank you for the report, Kitsu. You're dismissed," Sir Toby said, as there were so many reports going in and out. "Did you hear everything you need, Naruto?" he said, as the room was empty, but he knew better. "So it's true," said Naruto, slipping through the window, as four envoys breathed a sigh of relief. "They really did declare war on us." "What gave away?" Hiruzen said, with a humorless chuckle. "What happened?" said Naruto. Naruto knew that the man was being serious. His pipe looked completely untouched. "We still can't be sure. I didn't get any word of this until Shinobi started to report home being attacked on missions. It was only a few hours ago we confirmed who was attacking us. They have been using mostly hit and run tactics, but Konoha ninjas are not cattle who can just be slaughtered. From what we can gather, it appeared to be a joint assault on our borders, from the grass, Take, and the stone. Already, they have moved down in the surrounding villages. But why? Have they made demands? What reason could they have for attacking us so out of the blue? It's unprecedented, but I should have seen this coming. The grass had always been somewhat of a wild card, and an attack from the stone was always coming. However, I held up hope that Take would not be swayed by whatever promises that Orochimaru offered to give them. "Well then," said Naruto, "ask what you need from me and my team, so we can hurry up and end this war before life or nonsense is lost." As Hiruzen smiled, "You don't even understand how proud it made me to hear that. However, in light of these recent developments, I'm pushing up your team promotion. As of now, all three of them are Chunin. I'm afraid that you're too valuable, Naruto, to be tied down to the first missions that Chunins are going to receive. It's a hard decision to separate a team just as war broke out, but I have to use every resource available in the best way I can." Expecting protest, but he didn't get none, as Naruto simply nodded. "You aren't contesting me," asked Hiruzen. As Hiruzen saw, looking into the eyes, he saw a glimpse of Minato. "I understand, you're the Hokage. I will do what I need to do." As he stood up, "Now, if you excuse me, Hokage-sama, I have to remind the world how my father shook fear into an entire generation. It seems they have forgotten in his absence." Time skip. The moment Naruto stepped inside, he was crushed by a blur, but he grabbed her and swung her around, as Haya laughed in his arms. "Brother," she said, "people are running everywhere really fast, but sister won't let me run with them." As Naruto blinked at her, "I told you, Haya, they're not just running for fun, they have places they need to be. Anyway, none of them are fast as you, so you won't have any fun." Uncle called out as she entered the room from the kitchen, as Haya turned towards Uncle and simply stuck her tongue out, as Uncle rolled her eyes. "Yeah, but now that brother is here, I can run with him, right?" As she turned towards Naruto, her best puppy dog look. "Sure," he said, as he was unable to stand up with such an adorable look. as she then wiggled out of his arms, rushing into the kitchen where apparently Ramen waited, as Uncle rushed over and pulled him into a deep kiss. Wow, hello to you too, said Naruto. What's the occasion? She kissed him once again. Does there need to be one, she asked, in a rather innocent tone. Well, I'd like to know if there is, so I can make it happen again. Well, I was just thinking about what is going to happen, and that you're going to be in the front line out there. And as Naruto simply kissed her. Don't even talk like that, he said. Come on. It's me we're talking about, he said, with a grin on his face. As he gave a goofy pose, one like Jerry would do, as Uncle giggled a bit. Anyway, what's all this worry that I'm getting? Am I not to be worried about you going out and doing the same? It's not like you're not a kunoichi. Before any one of them could say anything, brother, sister, ramen is getting cold, said Haya. Both of them chuckled at hearing her. Well, we can't have that, said Uncle. But as she was walking off, Naruto grabbed her hand and she turned back around. You know, with the war and everything, I'll probably be gone. It won't be easy, he said. Uncle looked at him. As she saw his features, she stepped forward and hugged him. We're shinobi, it isn't supposed to be easy, but that is why we make it work. Anyway, it's not like you have to go right now. You have time for ramen, right? As Naruto grinned, of course. There's always time for ramen, he said, as they made their way in the kitchen. Time skip. A man named Kizu, as he was guarding the border. As he was from the hidden zone, he should be out there, fighting. But yet, he's here, with his group, as he had taken over this town to get deeper into the land of fire. His eyes narrowed and he saw something. What the? It was a red flash. As he saw a grass ninja running forward. What the? As a man ran forward until he fell. As Kizu saw that the man had injuries on his arms, blood running down. Kizu rushed over. Hey, what's going on? He's coming. For the love of God, he's coming, the man said, as he tried to run past Kizu. Wait, who? Kizu couldn't even get to say anything else, as the man's throat was suddenly sliced. Kizu looked up as he saw the red flash in front of him. Before he could even say anything else, a kunai came plummeting down, and everything went black. Naruto stood there at the small border town that he had just liberated. As he looked at the two dead shinobi at his feet. As the operation directive had been clear, no prisoners. This was how Konoha wage war, shock and awe to begin with, and they can be mercy when the opponent is ready to negotiate. As Naruto had never seen Hokage so grizzled, in that mood before. As the man assigned the missions to take back the towns that were taken over, the burden of leadership was literally on the man's shoulders. As Naruto wondered would that be him in a few years, sending out men and women to cut down the enemies of Konoha, the thought made him a bit ill. He pushed it down though, as he needed a strong facade in front of the shinobis and kunoichis that he was commanded. He knew that they were thinking the exact same thing, and they needed to know that all this sacrifice was not meaningless. As he flicked the blood from his tonto and went to find some higher ground, he would have to find his kunai later. Time skip. Higher, brother, higher! As Naruto threw higher in the air. As she smiled and giggled, she felt like she was flying. As she started to fall, but unlike most children, she wasn't scared. She knew her brother would be there to catch her. Sure enough, she was grabbed by a flash of red as she was back in his strong arms, as it only made her smile even more. As Naruto flipped and landed on the next branch. Then it began once again as he threw her once again. As Haya was not really a normal child, where normal child enjoy safer games that would probably scrape their knees or something like that. She enjoyed the danger, like being thrown so high up in the air, where if she fall, it would literally mean her death. But she was enjoying it every bit. But finally though, her energy ran out, as she was resting her head on Naruto's chest, as he was lying on the grass. She was so grateful to find such a wonderful family after being torn away from her clan. Your Hurricane is such amazing, Nisan, she said, as Naruto simply chuckled. Harishin, Haya, Harishin. Oh right, she said, and it's awesome. You can go whoosh and be everywhere at once. Whoosh, zoom, whoosh. She said, waving her hands around to make her sound effects even better. Yeah, pretty great, isn't it, he said, as he did not look at his hands. He knew he wouldn't like what he saw there. But he got to his feet and picked up Haya with a smile on his face. Come on then, I bet Uncle has cooked us something real delicious. Time skip, as the bridge was being guarded by a few shinobis. Suddenly, something was thrown, as a bright light flashed the entire area. A small gurgle could be heard as a body drop. Another gurgle as another body drop. When the light finally died down, the ninjas there turned in shock to see two of their comrades already dead. But Naruto was already speeding through hand sign. Wind style, vacuum sight, he said, as he blew up massive sharp winds that took out 3 guards in a second. The kunoichi down a bit more was luckier as she ducked, feeling something coming. But the moment She got to her feet. Naruto's in front of her. She pulled out her sword quickly as she was forced to block Naruto Tonto with it. The force of Naruto's blow forced her back. In her shock at the turn of event, all of her guards with her had now died. She tripped over her own feet by mistake. Unfortunately, that was the last thing, as she was pressed down into the ground, a sword to her throat. As she saw his eyes, his purple eyes looking at her. But far from a killer, she only saw sadness in those orbs. Sorry. His whisper was the last thing she heard before her neck was sliced open. Naruto simply lay there, watching for a moment as her blood leaked from her body. As he put his hand on her shoulder, he could still feel the warmth of her body, no fading away. His face then resetted as he got to his feet, as he gave few signals as him and his comrades moved. Time skip. You wouldn't dare, Uncle said, as Naruto used a pillow to tie her hands to the head of the bed after kissing her. Oh, would I? He said. No, you won't, she said. As he started tickling her, she started to laugh, as he didn't even stop. He just kept on tickling her. Alright, she said. I give. As Naruto slowly stopped, as tears are coming from her eyes, tears of laughter. Oh, and what do I get that I win? He said. Oh, I don't know, she said. You'll have to untie me first. As in that flash, the bindings were gone, as Naruto moved forward and kissed her. As he pulled himself back up, in that flash he saw the Kunoichi that he killed lying right there instead of Uncle, but it passed. Uncle noticed the hesitation. Are you okay? As Naruto realized his features must have twisted into a look of shock or something. As he grinned at her. I'm fine, what do you mean? He said. She wondered if she was only imagining it. It was only for a moment anyway. Besides, her loins were probably aching at this point. They need their sweet release that only Naruto can provide. Never mind, she said. Now, she said, you mentioned getting something. As she flipped him over. I think that you would like this, she said, as she started kissing him on the chest. Time skip. The Konoha Shinobis were shocked as hell. They couldn't believe it. This was impossible, right? What should have been a gruesome, bloody battle had been over in mere seconds. Just seconds. Blood was everywhere in front of them. Bodies litter on the ground. Huge, spiraling burn marks into every surface. But the true sign of the battle, what ended it all, was the three-pronged kunais everywhere. The Sound Core didn't even have a chance. One moment they were holding down. Against the Konoha Shinobi then, a hail of kunai had dropped down. And then flashes. All they saw before their life came to an end was flashes. Watching from the outside was more incredible. The Konoha Shinobi saw nothing but flashes as Naruto tore through their ranks with ease. It seems like there were almost 50 of him, the way he was blinking so fast. I've never seen anything like this. A Konoha Chunin said, beside him. His friend simply nodded. I know, I heard stories about the fort, but I never imagined. Quiet, he might hear us, a third one said. Unlike them, he was clear in the battlefield as Naruto was sitting on a log nearby. He was looking at the kunai in his hand. But he's on our side, right? The sight of Naruto sitting there so calm and unnerved by what he had done, it was unnerving for them. Yeah, I really get why they call him Blood Flash now. The first one said, but that was a misdirective because there wasn't even a drop of blood on Naruto's body. Blink of an eye. The man couldn't even say that in his mind before the shinobis were taken out. It was seconds. He really is his father's son. At that moment, they all jumped a bit as he got to his feet. As he looked over the battlefield. Call in a cleaning squad and get ready. You're moving on to the outpost, Naruto said as he looked towards him by Murokai. The three of them quickly nodded as they went among their duties. As Naruto watched him go, it was better that he do this more than them. It was better that he do the bloodshed. Time skip. Well, aren't you guys a sight for sore eyes, huh? Said Naruto as he saw Sasuke, Sakura, and Ami as they walked in their old training ground. Tell me about it, Sensei. It seemed like months since the last time we were in the same place. Ami said with a tired smile. There seemed to be a sudden change about her that Naruto couldn't pin down, as she had grown a bit, more filling out her red dress, and she was also using a blade that Yujiro gave her. That's because it's been months they'd last, said Sasuke. But the insult carried no venom, and he had a small smirk on his face. The familiarity of the old team felt nice. As Sakura chuckled a bit, are we sure this is a good idea though? Whenever we get together, we only cause trouble. As Naruto looked at her, out of all of them, he thought that she had changed the most, as he heard that she left the main Chunin Corps a few weeks after her enrollment. Instead, she joined the Medic Ninjas, as her hair was tied up in a ponytail, and there was a few extra pouches along her body. I'm sure that comment will let us off easy this time, said Naruto as he flipped off his boulder. Well, he said, as he called his team over as he sit on the grass. So, who has stories to tell, he said, as Ami quickly joined him with a grin on her face. Well, I could tell the one how Sasuke nearly got sent back to the village. On border patrol. Itachi. Border, she said. Sasuke head instantly snapped off as he looked at her. You said you wouldn't say anything, he said. Oh, Sakura said, I haven't heard that one yet. Damn it, Sasuke said as he lowered his head. Quid pro quo, Sakura. What do you have in return for this juicy story? Because it is really juicy. Well, I do have one about Omura-sensei ordering 3 crates of Ero manga instead of scrubs. At that, the 3 of them paused. Before the 3 of them started to burst out laughing. No way. How did he manage that? Ami said, as she started to tell Sakura his story, making Sasuke even more embarrassed. As Naruto sat back with a smile on his face, simply enjoying his students, just talking and having fun. Timeskip, it was hard to believe, but Naruto can't get exhausted, tired even. There was time after Itachi had left that he trained himself so hard, pushing himself in the ground over and over again. It was rare as he got older and less reckless. But as he jumped between the trees in Taki border, this was one of those times. He was on a solo operation around the area as he was setting up some long-range, distant, harrison markers. There were more draining to set up, and he has been working on them all day. Just as he was setting up them though, he was informed by Inoichi that a small Takabitsu squad that Anko has been leading has been ambushed. As Naruto bolted off after hearing where they were, he probably even confused a few Taki patrol as he raced by, nothing but a red blur going past them. As he arrived, he smelled blood, but he was confused when he arrived. The Konoha ninjas propped up like they were just resting. The ambushing crew from the minor village on the other hand, they were all dead. As he glanced over towards Anko, seeing her chest going up and down, as Naruto saw a squad there, wearing white masks. What's going on here, he said, stepping forward. What squad are you from? Naruto Namikaze, he said in a rather dull tone. His hand then lifted up, creating a signal that Naruto did not recognize from a standard envelope. Our mission is complete, pull back. Naruto stepped forward. Wait, what? As the group flashed off, but one of them remained. She seemed young. As she looked at Naruto in curiosity, as she then rushed off, as Naruto saw spiky, blonde hair. As Naruto made his way towards Anko, she stirred. Hey, easy, he said. Naruto? She chuckled weakly as she clutched her ribs. She wasn't in the best state before those weird envelopes turned up. You look like hell, she said. Yeah, and you don't look much better either. At least I can sleep mine off, he said. She slapped him on the chest lightly. How are my squad, she said. As you can see, the panic started raising her voice. Easy, he said. They're all fine. All alive by the looks of things. No, stop moving. As he went to check her wounds, as she looked around. What happened? Did you do this? But she was unconvinced. It didn't look like his work. It was not clean enough. No, I got this after it was over. There was some squad of envoy here. Wait, you of all people were late, she said. As Naruto frowned just a bit. Sorry, she said. He shook his head. She was right. He was late. If it wasn't for that squad of envoy, who would have known what would have happened? He still wasn't fast enough. Time skip. Are you leaving already? As Naruto turned towards Anko, who groaned. He couldn't blame her. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, another mission. I might be gone for a few days this time. As he didn't like being separated from her either. As she pouted, it was so cute. He thought about crawling back in the bed with her. It's not fair. They make you do so much, she said. The more I do, the less others have to do, and the faster this war's over, he said. It's still not fair. I hardly get to see you anymore. Haya, hardly get to see you either. As she sat, more upright. It's not like you have to take this entire war on your shoulders, you know? I hear people talking that you're on every front, on every camp at once. You're going to drive yourself insane or become so exhausted that you'll make a stupid mistake. I have the power to make a difference, Naruto said. If I did nothing, then I'm no better than people who start this damn war. Anko front, she threw a pillow as it hit him on the chest. I'm not asking for much, just maybe a bit less. Come home more, take less missions, be a little bit selfish or crying out loud. You have a family. As Naruto wins with every accusation. And what kind of person would I be if I let this war going on for much longer, he said. As the atmosphere was thick and tense. As he simply walked from the door, both of them trying to cool off after that. Time skip, Naruto dashed through the trees. Even as he tried his best, he couldn't get a conversation with Anko out of his head. It made him lose focus as he was thinking. But Naruto was still alert as he ducked off the branch. The branches he was on got sliced where his head was, as he heard a buzzing sound with the wind. As he jumped back, the earth was gouged out by a slice of wind once again, as a figure landed right on the branch, wings flying down. As Naruto looked up at the woman, Fu looked at him as the place got really tense. It was like the animals sensed it, as they all had moved away. "I'm sorry about this, Naruto," she said. She then shot forward off the branch. Her body spun in the air as 4 wings came from her back. As she moved even faster, she impacted with the earth with a boom, sending dust and debris everywhere. "Sorry about what?" Naruto replied. All she held in her hands was the earth, as Naruto was sitting in a tree behind her. As he looked down at her, their position changed in the blink of an eye. Fu crouched in the earth before she shot off another blast of wind, this time keeping her Bichu in Han's eyes on Naruto. She saw him, but she couldn't do a damn thing about his speed. At the very last moment as her hand were going towards his throat, he released something into the air. But by the time she realized what it was, he already vanished. As he appeared, right behind her though, in mid-air, she felt a strong grip on 2 of her wings, as she was crashed down into the ground violently, as she was sent skidding back, before coming to a stop as he released her. She picked herself up. "You held back. You could have sent me right into the ground. I might have even been knocked out." She growled annoyance. If there was one thing she hated, was being looked down on. "It might have also broken your neck," said Naruto, as he hopped to the ground. His posture let Shinobu's think that he was unprepared, but Fu wasn't any fool. But he then lowered his guard, surprising her. "I don't want to kill you, Fu," he said. But instead of getting, sentimental, she only got intense. "Do not look down on me," she said, as the ground around her broke, as a wave of anger washed out of her, as her entire body got enveloped in orange energy, as her wings grew even wider, as 2 protrusions grew from her forehead. "Fu, think about what you're doing," Naruto warned slowly as she hunched over, trying to control this wave of power. "Don't let this thing..." The ground exploded as she shot forward. Naruto turned his head just in time. Time seemed to slow down as he looked at Fu. He looked direct in her eyes, and it wasn't Fu looking back at him, as her attack was relentless as time started back up, as her wings were attacking at him, flashing with slicing blades. Every attack was pushed forward by the winds, giving them tremendous speed and strength. There was no escaping them either. Those antennas on her head were helping. It was like she was seeing him. It was like she was feeling where he was, as Naruto simply dodged each and every one of her attacks with a corrosive chakra around her. Despite it looked like she might have him on the guard, Naruto's mind was flying through different ways of ending this, as Fu even noticed that he was throwing kunai all around as he was moving with brilliant speed and throwing kunai at the same time. As he then vanished, Fu let that tremendous roar that shook the area. It sounded like a mix between a buzz of an insect and a growl of a predator. Suddenly, he was in front of her again, as he grabbed her by the shirt, as he threw her up in the air, poofing away, revealing that it was just a clone. Another clone appeared in front of her, as he grabbed her, throwing her up even further, as the corrosive chakra burned his body as he poofed away, as Fu was thrown straight up. As she was far above the canopy, she then noticed a kunai in mid-air, as Naruto teleported into existence in front of her, as he brought down his leg with so much force with an axe kick right into her stomach. For a single second, her entire body curled around his leg. Because of the force, her body was blown back so hard as she shot to the ground like a bullet. As she hit the ground, the explosion, everything was blown back. As Fu coughed up some blood, but she got back to her feet slowly, her head ringing. Fu did not notice the mark that Naruto placed in her stomach, as her stomach glowed as Naruto appeared in front of her. "I didn't want to have to do this, it's gonna hurt." Fu growled and lashed out at him, but he dodged her claw as he placed a tag on her forehead. Fu cried out in pain as the energy was drawn away from her, as the Bichu energy was ripped away from her form. He had never needed to use this before, and it was quite a sight to see. He was no way extracting the beats, of course. He was just diverting the energy away into a kunai. It would have worked out, caused her to pass out from the shock and the ripped away of power. But the kunai started to shake and quiver as it was wrenched from the ground and pulled into the shadows, as white papers started wrapped around Fu. "I'm afraid you can't allow you to finish that jutsu, Naruto Namikaze." An orange-haired man stepped forward out of a tree limb, as Naruto saw the cloak that the man was wearing. The cloak of the Akatsuki. But the eyes. He heard the legend about those eyes. The man then raised his hand towards Naruto. "Almighty, push. But guys, be in steps right here. If you want the next part of it, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto chose a different dream that will change everything, guys, and enjoy that. But for now, I'm out of here. See you guys soon. Peace.